Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me on this edition of the 6 p.m. primetime newscast on Equinoxe television. Our major stories tonight: a group of patriotic intellectuals of Cameroon have come together to strongly fight against President Paul Biya's potential candidacy for an 8th term. In a second letter, members describe Biya's bid as a blatant provocation. They are calling on Cameroonians to mobilize and take control of their destiny by October 12. And away from that, a dramatic turn of events has shaken the nation's football community as conflicting letters emerge on the coach's future. One letter says Mark Breeze has resigned as head coach of the Indomitable Lions, while another letter from the same Mark Breeze qualifies the news of his resignation as fake news. The contradictory statements have raised more questions than answers, leaving fans and players wondering what's really going on in football. Those are top stories tonight. The news in full in a jiffy. Thank you so much for joining me on this edition of the 6 p.m. primetime newscast. For presentation, I am Immaculate Fogwe. Patriotic intellectuals of Cameroon unite against President Paul Biya's 8th-term bid. In a scathing letter, the group slams the president's potential candidacy as provocation, urging Cameroonians to mobilize and take control of their destiny by October 12. Innocent Aze reports.
Cameroon, l'heure du sursaut, implying the time for reawakening, is the title chosen by a collective of patriotic intellectuals of Cameroon to make a resume of their opinions on the political life of the nation, mainly on the governance of the regime in place since 1982. In this second outing, the patriotic intellectuals of Cameroon describe Cameroon as a sinking country whose destiny has been hijacked by a dreaded regime made up of unscrupulous individuals. Their stance is clear. The candidacy of the head of state, Paul Biya, for an 8th mandate surpasses a provocation. They denounce the existence of an irremovable oligarchy that weaves its empire over the army, economic wealth, and the machinery of the state. This concentration of power in the hands of a group of persons, according to them, constitutes a major obstacle to the democratization of Cameroon. They further that, above politics, it is national dignity that is being humiliated. In addition, throughout this period, the president nurses absence and silence, which is not accidental, but a systematic calculation. A head of state transforms to a trophy of propaganda of a power without legitimacy and vision. Still in the letter, the patriotic intellectuals require, in what they call break-up pact, the end of the instrumentalization of executive power for partisan ends. They as well demand international sanctions against abusers of democracy, call for the establishment of a credible and democratic electoral system, the urgent reallocation of public resources towards vital priorities. These college of patriotic intellectuals of Cameroon also call on the population to mobilize, vote for change, and take back their destiny into their hands.
Politics, as the Electoral Commission and Constitutional Council review the files of over 80 candidates vying to unseat long-serving President Paul Biya, national calls for him to step down are growing louder. Cultural activist Jean-Pierre Bicolo has joined the chorus publicly, declaring his opposition to Biya's potential candidacy in a recent letter. Malagler read through this letter and compiled this for the news.
The letter, written and translated in both English and French, demonstrates the indignation and disapproval of the author, Jean-Pierre Bicolo, following President Paul Biya's declaration to run for the October 12th presidential election. For the author, Paul Biya, who has been in government since 1962 and who has been in power as head of state for close to 43 years, must not be seeking another term of office. He says the incumbent president, who had all what Cameroon had to offer him without reciprocating to measure, must step down. He is referred to as the last standing French colonial master, one-time military governor, and one-time French Prime Minister under General Charles de Gaulle. He is said to have contributed to President Paul Biya's coming to power with the intention of retaining Cameroonians in bondage. According to him, President Paul Biya was taken to power to uphold French interest. And it worked, Jean-Pierre Bicolo said, adding that Cameroonians thought they live in a democracy. They thought they had a state, a sovereignty, a voice, but all was a fiction. Pierre Bicolo furthers that everything has come to light, and it's clear that politics now is nothing more than a shadow. Jean-Pierre Bicolo, according to him, Cameroonians have remained silent in the face of this domination and their suffering. The democracy preached about is not even in their language, but foreign language. Bicolo thus called on France to take off President Paul Biya, the one they have nurtured, maintained for this long in power. The cultural activist reminded Cameroonians that it's time to wake up from their slumber, admit that they have been used, put an end to the suffering and organize their transition.
In the same vein, social media influencers and other personalities from other African countries have been asking questions on what is happening in the political landscape in Cameroon. And many have been making fun of the numerous candidatures, including that of incumbent president with 92-year-old President Paul Biya, who is currently seeking re-election. Anna Bilaleke reports.
Actually, if you are Cameroonian, please move forward, move to the front, because you need this prayer more than the rest of us.
What is happening within the Cameroonian political space at the moment can be described more or less as a national humiliation.
Ladies and gentlemen, we heard that the 92-year-old president of Cameroon wants to run again in the next presidential election. What? How is that even possible? No, it cannot be.
We're the only continent in the world where we have presidents at 90 years old starting new terms. I mean, you guys are crazy or what?
From the popular Nigerian blogger Adeola to Mo Ibrahim of the Mo Ibrahim Foundation and other Kenyan and Ugandan social media influencers, they all question what is happening in the country Cameroon.
Do they even think in Cameroon? Is there any person apart from Samuel Eto'o, Francis Ngannou, Roger Miller? The population of Cameroon, is it purely made up of backward individuals?
Other African brothers and sisters expressed disappointment at how the presidential race is going on in Cameroon with so much unseriousness.
This is a joke. Yes, you are right to laugh, because the whole world is laughing at us.
Africans who have been keenly observing the recent political atmosphere in the country ask why a unique opposition coalition seems far-fetched from Cameroon.
Stop with all the personal interest, guys. Everybody wants to be president. Everybody wants to be... No. Right now, you have to sacrifice for your country. You all have to come together. Choose one person to run against him.
This gentleman that you call Paul Biya is 92 years old. He's leading one of the poorest economies in the world.
They wonder in this day why Cameroon has mostly old people at the head of its important institutions.
One US company is the whole economy of Cameroon, but you want to insist that a 92-year-old man who has been working there for 50 years has something new to give. Cameroon is the weakest nation right now in the whole world, because these are the people that will tolerate the biggest amount of dereliction of duty that there is. Is Paul Biya usually in your country, you Cameroonians?
Observers say indeed one can conclude that the political atmosphere in Cameroon in recent times is becoming ridiculous, reducing the country and Cameroonians to a shameful position in Africa and the world.
We only pick up people at 90 years old to lead us. To lead us where?
What a time to be a Cameroonian at this moment. Now away from politics, the deplorable state of the road linking Mile 17 Boya to Muntengene, all in the southwest region, has emerged as a major deal for road users in that part of the country. This has resulted to endless traffic congestions, car breakdowns and fatigue for both drivers and passengers. The Minister of Public Works, who paid a visit to the site, said construction work should begin soon, though contractors think it should rather begin later due to the unavailability of equipment. Rex Afona, Southwest correspondent, reports.
For months, residents and drivers have raised alarm over the crumbling nature of this road linking Mile 17 to Mutengene, but their cries have mostly fallen on deaf ears.
Where we are is Mile 16. It has now become the epicenter of traffic congestion due to the poor state of the road. The visit of the Minister of Public Works, Emmanuel Jumesi, to the southwest region to inspect roads that were supposed to be under construction. The population say it should not just be another scheme because of the upcoming elections, but it should be a genuine intention to alleviate the suffering that these people are going through on a daily basis.
It cannot be the time of election that they should come and fool us. If they want to work, they should work sincerely. You see now, the Anglophone people have suffered a lot. You know, there is no road. All the road is bad, the road is limber, everywhere is bad.
Despite repeated promises made by government, nothing seems to be materializing on ground. The visit of the Minister of Public Works, Emmanuel Jumesi, some hope will bring at least temporary relief. He met with the contractors, but there is no guarantee the problem will be solved soonest. The ministers, however, said works should begin immediately, though the contractors have demanded a little more time to transport working materials to the sites.
We have not mobilized any equipment on the site since we have the service on our site.
Get the equipment you can hire.
The suffocating nature of this road has made its fixing a matter of emergency.
I've been here for about 2 hours, going to 3 hours since, waiting for vehicle, traffic, because of the condition of the roads. And every time that I want to go to Limbe, that is how we struggle to have car or vehicles to go to Limbe.
It tears my car like an old clothes every day because the road is actually bad. From Boya to Limbe, from Limbe to Douala, nearly everywhere in Fako, we are feeling bad.
The Mile 17 to Mutengene road, some critics say, remains a symbol of government neglect and poor governance. Until decisive action is taken, the suffering continues.
Boya-based chief correspondent Rex Afon ends this first part of the news. Cameroon Today comes up next. On tonight's edition of Cameroon Today, we will take you to the Leke Division in the central region of Cameroon, the plight of the Song Onana's healthcare. Despite the adage, health is wealth, residents of Song Onana in the Leke Division struggle to access basic medical care due to the dilapidated state of their local integrated health center. With no working materials and shortage of healthcare practitioners, the community is left to fend for itself. Smagic and Gebe reports on the situation on the ground.
Struggling to keep the frontage of the Integrated Health Center of Song Onana neat in order to give a different face value to the health infrastructure. The health center is an old building which is in an advanced stage of dilapidation. Created several years on paper, it was only in 1994 that the Integrated Health Center of Song Onana was finally opened to the public, with several services, amongst them consultation, delivery, theater, and a room for prenatal consultation, all found in a single building. This hall serves in many capacities, sometimes transformed into the office of the Chief Medical Officer, consultation room, and ward for patients. As you can see behind, there is a table. It means it's an office. The bed is where I receive patients, and on the table we have register where I do consultation. The booklets you see belong to patients on treatment. The health center remains a curiosity to passerbys. The structure housing us is not good because when it rains, everyone is wet. We don't have a pharmacy. and relax equipment. The chief medical officer struggles to get the basic medications. The register is bought by the head of the unit as well as the pens we use. Let's have a guided tour to some units, amongst them the delivery room. We are managing reasons we made this bed in such a way that when a woman comes to deliver, we keep her here for at least 2 days to observe her, since when a woman puts to bed, she doesn't go home immediately. The pharmacy, which is an important aspect in a hospital, is empty, and the absence of medication is having a negative impact on the people of Song Onana. We admit serious malaria cases in the health center, particularly with older people, and also cases of anemia with toddlers. 4 nurses have been sent to the Integrated Health Center of Song Onana, but because of the poor situation, they have all relocated to town. The CMO is here alongside 2 other colleagues who are in town and 1 state-registered midwife, plus a general practitioner like me. During our visit, it was only 1 worker who was accepted to work in the poor condition, the assistant chief medical officer that we met. In the absence of patients, he occupies himself by playing Lido. It is a very big problem for any patient who comes to the Integrated Health Center for treatment. If the patients want to use the toilet, this is how the toilet looks like. It's unacceptable that a health center like ours is in this disturbing state. When rain falls, the entire health center is flooded. It implies I have to work extra the next morning. If a patient comes while I'm working, they have to wait until I'm done. Since the patient can't sit in water, we are calling on the state to come renovate the structure.
Si on peut vraiment venir l'arranger, ça va nous soulager et nous trouver un peu au moins 2 ou 3 lits, ça va nous arranger.
The Integrated Health Center of Song Onana needs healing before it could also take care of other sick people.
Into confusion, with 1 letter claiming Mark Breeze has quit as Indomitable Lions head coach. Another letter from the same Mark Breeze himself describes the letter as the news as fake. Should Cameroonians be worried about the conflicting letters? Let's find out in this report done by Siri Chakutio.
Breeze takes the Cameroon football family by storm in a letter he published on Tuesday afternoon announcing his resignation as head coach of the Indomitable Lions of Cameroon. This letter sparked reactions amongst football fans and media organs. The main reason cited by Mark Breeze in the letter is 2 months' salary arrears. In his resignation letter, the Belgian regrets what he describes as breaches of contractual obligations. He describes a situation that has become uneased, marked by both administrative failure and clear financial abandonment. The Cameroon Football Federation, on their part, acknowledged having been informed by correspondence dated July 21st, 2025 of the resignation of Mark Breeze with immediate effect from his position as head coach of the Indomitable Lions of Cameroon. However, hours later, in another outing, Mark Breeze denies resignation in an official letter addressed to the Minister of Sport and Physical Education on July 23, 2025. The Indomitable Lions head coach categorically states that he never wrote or delivered any resignation letter and denounces a compromised email account. In his letter, Mark Breeze points a finger at those responsible. The Belgian coach recalls the persistent administrative difficulties he encounters in his role. He requests a fair and swift solution to resolve these recurrent problems that undermine his work. This clarification comes at a crucial time for the Indomitable Lions with crucial upcoming deadlines. Mark Breeze reaffirms his mission to make Cameroon shine in the pitch with honor, discipline and performance.
And that sports element done by Siri Chakutio ends the second part of the news. Talking Point is up next. My guest on Talking Point tonight is Eric CHINJE. He is a veteran journalist and also a member of the collective of Interlectuals. Good evening. It's a pleasure to have you on Talking Point tonight.
Well, thank you very much, Immaculate. It's a pleasure being here too. So I'm really happy to engage with you on at a time like this when the country is actually going through a very intense political season.
Eric CHINJE, how did you and other members of the collective of Interlectuals respond to President Paul Biya's decision to run for office despite your call for him to step down in your first letter?
I am totally convinced that Mr. Biya will not run if he were to make that decision, because he will realize that he's old and tired, is not in good health, that would allow him to make the right decisions and to be as present as he ought to be. So I know that the president did not make that decision to run again. And if Mr. Ngongo thinks this is not true, let him come in, let us have a debate on this. Even better, let him bring the president out. Let President Biya come and engage with us, citizens. Let President Biya come and tell us why he thinks he can run after all these decades in power, and what he will do differently that he's not been able to do. He's not been able to build good roads in Yaoundé in 40 years plus. He's not been able to provide basic services in the nation's capital, not even to talk of the rest of the country. Why would Mr. Biya want another mandate? He's entrusted things to a lot of his collaborators, and these collaborators have not delivered. So the first thing I would think, if the president were serious about running, if he wanted to run and were serious about running, the first thing he would want to do is throw out a lot of, not all, but a lot of the ministers. All of those who've not delivered. We know those who've not delivered. Throw them out. Throw out those who've stolen more money than a minister deserves to have. There are many of them. And if they challenge this, we're willing to challenge them.
Now, in your second statement, that is that of the collective of Interlectuals, you people described Mr. Biya's decision to go in for an 8th term as provocation. Can you elaborate more on this?
The fact is, we do not think that he'll have an 8th term. He won't. I don't think he will. I don't think the Cameroonian people are that dumb. So what we're saying is a provocation is the very fact of even asking for an 8th term. The president should not be asking for an 8th term. And we happen to know that he has not asked for an 8th term. The enablers around the president, the enablers around Mr. Biya, have asked for an 8th term because they want the status quo. They want things to remain as they are. And we know it is wrong. Mr. Ngongo, Mr. Ayolo, Mr. I think it's Baboke, please, not only give the president a deserved rest, but allow the country to move on. Allow new ideas in an age of technology where technology can help us in so many ways. Please allow Cameroon to adapt those technologies to help us improve our agricultural production, improve our economy, improve our infrastructure, improve our health systems, improve our educational system. We can do all of that. We've got the money, the means, and we've got the technologies that we can adapt to help us improve all aspects of life in Cameroon. It's not going to be a miracle. It's not going to happen overnight, but we've got to start from somewhere. And it's only when we start the journey of 1,000 years that we will make that journey. We're not even on that road yet. So look, every Cameroonian listening to me, I am not against any other Cameroonian. I'm not against any leader in or out of government, but I'm against stagnation in Cameroon. I'm against a system that is unable to move the country forward. There are good men in government, good men and women in government. Give them a chance even, but not under the system. A system run by an absentee president, a system run on haute instruction, whatever they call it, high instructions. I don't know. A system run on that? Let Mr. Gongo, the Secretary General, and I mention him because he's the one signing those high instructions. Please give us a break. And I hope Cameroonians will say, enough is enough to move this country forward.
Of presidential aspirants in Cameroon suggest about the state of the opposition and its prospects for change.
Well, a large number tells you that everybody now thinks they can be president. That's what they think. They think that if Mr. Biya can be president, then the guy on the streets can be president. That's what the large number means. Can you see this happening under a young, vibrant, and strong Mr. Biya, Paul Biya, 10 years ago, 20 years ago? Can you see this happening? No. It's happening because the man is no longer in charge. People know that. Whoever has run this country in the last 7 years has done a disastrous job. And everybody now thinks they can do a better job. Everybody. So we have 80 people who want to be president. 80. Because they think they can be. So it's enough of a sign to every Cameroonian that the role of president has been brought down to the mud.
What specific actions does the collective or intellectuals of Cameroon plan to take to promote your cause and challenge the current regime?
Well, look, we are pleading to the nation. Baba Wame pulled us together to not to play politics, but to think about the country and to try to see what we could do to point out the ill, what is wrong with things as they are in Cameroon and how can we change them. If the politicians, it is their role, those running for president, to figure out the mix of policies that will result in a transformation of our society. But it is fairly obvious, almost any Cameroonian on the streets will tell you what they want to see. They want to see an economy that's vibrant, an economy that works for everybody, not an economy that works for a handful of people, the elite. They want to see our agricultural, which is the basis of our economy. We want to see an agricultural system that produces and transforms and takes and not only feeds Cameroonians, but sells to the world. We want to see that. And we've got what it takes to do it. We've got the soil. We can acquire the necessary technologies. So we want to see movement at that level. We want to see a tourism policy. We want to see tourism policies that encourage people to come to Cameroon. Look at Waza. Most of you young people, the younger people in Cameroon, and you're in the majority, I'm sure many of you have never heard of Waza. Waza used to be one of the jewels of our tourism infrastructure in Cameroon. People came to Cameroon to go see Waza, because Waza has more animal variety than the Serengeti. Go find out. But what has happened to Waza? We have no clue. Waza's just disappeared because of absence of attention, lack of appropriate policies, and the inability, the incompetence of those who are responsible for it. Look at the Menchum Falls. We could generate enough electricity in the Menchum Falls to light Cameroon. We do not even have electricity in Cameroon. How can we have industry if we don't have electricity? How can a country that has more hydraulic potential, more water, rivers, lakes, and access to the sea, how can a country like that not have water to drink? There's a problem. We've got to admit it. Every single Cameroonian looking at this program, if you do not rise up and act and demand change and elect a new leadership, because the problem is at the level of leadership.
Now, what has been the reaction of the international community to President Paul Biya's decision to run for office for an 8th term, and what implications will this have for Cameroon's relations with the global community?
Very good question, Immaculate. I think the world is those who are interested, of course, are in a state of shock. A lot of people outside Africa think, well, that's Africa, there goes Africa. So I think that decision by Mr. Biya has had an impact on Africa. My friend Jean-Pierre Bokolo wrote a piece, I don't know if many of you have seen it, in which he makes the case very clear about the very negative impact of that simple decision, not only on Cameroon, but on Africa. Because people throw up their hands and say, well, there they go again, the Africans. No, this small-minded clique that is in leadership in Yaoundé and around Etudi Palace, from Chantal Biya to Ngongo to Ayolo and all of them, small-minded clique, they should please rise up for the sake of the nation and say we'll organize free and fair elections. I hope the team in Elekam will have the courage to save Cameroon. And I think they can. I just, I was looking at Elekam and its rules and the people, and I think the rules are not bad. The people are not bad. They're actually very good. They're as smart as most Cameroonians. So Elekam, this is a call for you to do the right thing, please. We can, the world is not, the world is in a state of awe, of shock. Not shock, because a lot of people are not even interested. They're just saying, well, that's Africa. There goes Africa. But those who are interested, I don't know if you've heard or seen what is being said on television stations across the continent. Oh, the 93-year-old man wants another mandate. The 93-year-old man who cannot walk. The 93-year-old man who farts when he talks in public places. Look, let's stop making a ridicule of our beautiful country. And that's what we're saying. So what is the world saying? That's what the world is saying. The world is in a state of dismay. The Africans who are interested, they're in a state of dismay. Mr. Biya should not run. And I really hope that the president will not be a candidate. He will allow the political space to absorb new ideas, and we can then organize debates. We can have the candidates debate each other, knowing that when they go to the polls, the results of the polls will be pronounced as they have been registered by voters. I think we're going to have that this year. There will be change in Cameroon this year.
If I accept my invitation on Talking Point tonight.
And I hope, to end up that Cameroonians will hear you, and that all of us will come together to work to find. We don't need a single candidate in the opposition. Let's just go to the polls and let the majority of Cameroonians vote whoever it is will be the next president.
Veteran journalist and member of the collective of Interlectuals, CHINJE, speaking to us live from the United Kingdom. And that's what put a cap to today's edition of the 6 p.m. primetime newscast on Equinoxe television. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for your keen attention. Stay in the company of more interesting programs. Coming up next, some few minutes, is a program Equinoxe with Sir Shalem Oto and his guests. And exactly 8 p.m., you have the news in the French language with Irish Kondomala. From us to you over there, have a wonderful evening. Bye-bye for now.